Times newspaper, and what do they have?
Yeah, I found the story quite upsetting, actually. So, care homes told to stop shutting out loved ones. Now, I didn't know this was still going on. This is very infuriating. So hundreds of care homes still refuse to accept visitors, even though restrictions in England were dropped in the spring. So these are still the COVID restrictions that are being implemented, even though there's now no government requirement for them. And these are stopping old people and, vulnerable people from having their friends and family visiting them, which I think is disgusting. I think it's absolutely disgusting. These are people who... The care homes aren't there to keep people alive indefinitely in some sterile situation just forever. The point is to provide quality of life, and having visits from your relatives and friends and all kinds of people is what gives you that quality. And to deny people that, I think, is inhumane and barbaric. And I don't normally get annoyed, but I am annoyed.
Well, you're right too. I think they didn't get the memo that the pandemic has changed and that it's time now to move on, because actually the care homes, many would argue, has been one of the scandals of the pandemic, Simon.
The trouble for care homes and with care homes, as like everything else, it does say halfway through the article that the minister acknowledged the vast majority of places are now allowing visits. So this is definitely a smaller group of people. But there are great care homes and there are terrible care homes. And the ones that are terrible, as Jonathan's saying, are almost criminally terrible. I mean, they're giving people... They're not even giving people a quality of life. They're taking quality of life away from people as they get older. But the other side of this, of course, is that they're not properly supported and regulated. They're not properly invested. I mean, it is impossible to hang on to care home staff because they get paid threatens hate me. So they move. I mean, you can earn more on the till at Asda than you can in a care home. So part of the problem is that you've got incredibly substandard care in lots of places because you get this huge turnover and so it goes on. So I think there's a kind of context to this, but I think the minister's doing the right thing. If you're going to say the ones who aren't doing it, as long as she doesn't make a bogeyman of all care homes, because some of them are great.
Some of them are great, absolutely right. And
the people who do it. I remember, did you see on The Repair Shop? Was it The Repair Shop? One of those programmes, they built a pergola. The staff, they built a pergola for the staff.
That's amazing. That's
because
wonderful.
These staff had moved into the care home during the pandemic.
Before we get to our next story, do you think, Simon and Jonathan, that it was a mistake to fire care home workers for not having the jab during the pandemic?
Yep.
Simon, what do you think about that? Because, I mean, this is the legacy of much of the pressure that's now on the care sector, isn't it? They are minus 40k employees.
I think it's so difficult. Look, if you're a doctor, there are jabs that you have to have in order to perform surgery, and that's to do with maintaining your infection barriers and so on and so forth. So there's a bit of me that says, actually, if that is going to prevent death of the people in the care home, actually this is a good thing. On the other hand, I understand that people have arguments about their freedom of choice. And to be honest, every time I think about this issue, I get round.
I think that's very honest. Yeah, if only everyone was that nuanced. It's not black and white, is it?